It's time for Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle.
Welcome on into another edition of Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle. Special edition of Bringing the Heat. Number 7 for me. 7.
1 week.
Worth of days. Over a week now. Joining me is Bryan Nolen at the Bryan Nolen on Twitter. Bryan, unfortunately, Steven was not able to join us today. He was unable to make it to the courtroom. We're wishing him best wishes. He got hit with a something bad, and he's been sick all day. So we do want to send thoughts and prayers to our man Steven Stump. I did joke that he got thrown so many numbers yesterday that his computer and his brain overloaded. Since that has not been confirmed, I will leave that up. But Bryan, I believe this is your first time doing one of these.
It is.
Since we've gone on. So I always ask a guy, vibe check, since they've been in there. Overall, you're outside looking in. Overall vibe check of this trial as we're now finished day 7 of what's supposed to be 10. But if I had to put the odds at it finishing at 10, I feel like it won't.
Well, first off, Trey, thanks for having me on. It's always good to see you. I know we talk every day, all day on our chat or text messages in our group chat, but it's cool to actually have face to face. The vibe here is great. I don't think the vibe for NASCAR was good today because I think it was probably the most explosive, impactful day. We heard from apparently we just lost Trey, but that's all right. We heard from Richard Childress. We heard from Steve Phelps. We heard from an economist, and we heard from Jim France. And as we bring Trey back in here,
I was actually here the whole time. My camera just went out.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I mean. I think it was a day that I think if it hasn't been shaped one way or another, it definitely shifted either this morning or early afternoon by one testimony. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But like you were saying, thoughts and prayers are to Steven. Unfortunately, he was not able to be out there. But a big shout out to our guy John Newby for sending over his notes. We appreciate you, John. Thank you, buddy. One of our favorite. And a happy birthday to John's wife. He would be here today, but his significant other is celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday to John's wife. So Trey,
we're not going to mention the number because it is a big. It's a round number, and I feel like that's disrespectful. But
I honestly don't even know the number. So
okay,
yeah, you can private chat it to me.
But I want to shout out John Newby who helped us out today. That's media members helping media members out.
Big one. That's a big one.
Yes, media members helping media members out. So shout out to John Newby. So I'm gonna basically kind of go through these notes, and we'll talk about them throughout. If you have any questions, we're gonna do our best to answer them from our perspective. Obviously, unfortunately, no one in the courtroom, but we're covering it. We will still have a recap for you. We will still have takeaways for you. We'll obviously still have this podcast. The Stig brings up a good point. Probably the only time we'll ever get a France under oath. That may be the case. Let's talk about that today. Witness wise, you start with an economist, but it's 3 of the biggest heavy hitters in all of this trial. You have Steve Phelps, the commissioner, or the president, whatever his new title is of NASCAR. You have an owner that's quickly became the part of the center of this in Richard Childress. And then obviously I keep calling him how the defense is calling him the guy behind the curtain. They talked about the board, or I related it to the mafia. Like he's the boss. And then the 2 Steves are his 2 capos. That's how I've described the NASCAR organization. And I don't know if it's the best, but it's at least is what the plaintiffs are trying to portray, because they, obviously the mob used its power illegally over the teams, or over the mob did not, or over people, and that's why. Let me be clear: the mob is not in NASCAR.
Confirmed. Trey Lyle says the mob is involved in NASCAR. Trey Lyle.
This is my 7th one of these. It's I get up early every day. I've had to deal with snow. It's been a fun time here for Trey Lyle. But again, Phelps, there was like two economists, I think, that were testified first. But you had Phelps, you had Jim France, and obviously RC. It seemed like just this was going to be this was not the turning point of the trial, which we're about to finish the plaintiff side of things. It felt like this might be the most important day of the trial outside of maybe the Heather Gibbs testimony. Brian.
Yeah, I think everyone, Trey, was all, oh, this is going to be crazy. We've heard rumblings that RC was going to be unhinged and everything. And I don't think he was unhinged, Trey, but I don't think he was, okay, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say that. I can't say this. I think he said what he wanted to say and how he wanted to say it. So that was one thing. It wasn't as long as I think people expected. I think Bob said, or John Newby, or one of the guys that was in the courtroom, 45 minutes. He was up on the stand, and then I think hit the fan when Jim France started talking. There was some interesting stuff from The Economist and everything, as well as Steve Phelps. But I do think the final two witnesses of the day, starting with RC, and then you finished the day. Now I want to paraphrase that Jim France is not done yet. He does still got to get cross-examined from the other side. So just one half of the Jim France testimony is completed. The other half will be resumed at 8:30 tomorrow morning, Trey.
The Stig brought up something about RC's, maybe the RC owner, which we'll get into in a second. We'll see about that. I think the biggest media circus day came and went, and it was when MJ testified, and I think the next day will be a media circus again, is when the end of this, and you have MJ on a microphone. That's kind of when I think the biggest media, but that's me looking at it from an outside view, because I don't expect a Jeff Gluck Sports Center hit today, or a Jordan Bianchi being on Good Morning America, or they didn't pick us for that, which again, we could have done it. We would have been great. So just saying, Sports Center, Good Morning America, CBS this morning, let us know. We're glad to do it. But let's dive right in. So we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. Big thing is it started early, 8:30 to 5:30. They went an extra hour because of falling behind. I give Judge Bell that. But Professor Steyer continues his cross-examination. Ledman saying that the F1 benchmark is wrong. The damages are wrong. Steyer saying wrong, says that multiple were the lowest with F1 to be conservative. If he went with a different sport, damages could be higher. Buterman says NASCAR runs all of its points races in the United States. Conveniently forgets Mexico City. Buterman says IndyCar is a better benchmark than F1 on some ovals in the United States and has a 7-year charter agreement. Snyder says he couldn't use IndyCar on a benchmark because financial data was not available for the series on Ford or Sportico. Neither Formula One or NASCAR are closed systems. Each series periodically negotiates contract terms. No equity in the series, and both series explored cost caps. Snyder reiterates that he couldn't use IndyCar because he didn't have the data, and after Snyder asked legal counsel to get IndyCar financial data, Kessler objects, and the judge sustains that objection. Buterman then pushes hard to get Snyder to admit that cost caps were beneficial to Formula One. Buterman has several questions about cost caps in Formula One and how they would affect the multitudes of damages. Buterman pushes Snyder about not going back to 2019 before the implementation of the cost cap. Snyder said he needed the most recent data for his evaluation. 2023 was the most recent data available from Forbes. Buterman tries to say if Snyder estimated 2311 should get 600% return on investment, $627 million invested compared to $200 million in damages. This is the third or fourth question about returns on investment, which Snyder says is irrelevant. Judge Bell gets pissed at the line of questioning and told him to move on. Yeah, it seems like with the Economist, he was trying to push him about Formula One, and the guy was just using numbers. And, he was saying, what about IndyCar? He's like, well, I don't have those numbers. I can't use them. It seems open and shut, and this is now a case where I think the judge, again, is trying his best to stay out of it, but is slowly having to force himself in there to keep this on the tracks.
Yeah, and Trey, I think Judge Bell has had it with everybody. I think he's tired. This was only supposed to last for 10 days. Tomorrow is the 10th day, and it looks like closing arguments will be next.
Brian, Friday is the 10th day.
Oh, excuse me. Friday is the 10th day.
Day 7. Today's Tuesday.
Day 7. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not good with math. This is why I talk. I'm not good with math. But it looks like it will be the following Monday, so a week from yesterday, I should say, that will close up. So he's already tired of this. He extended the time from 8:30 to 5:30. So he's trying to get this all done. It's everybody's tired, everybody's frustrated. It's the holiday season, and Judge Bell is tired of semantics. He's tired of the funny business. He's tired of the small talk. He wants to get down to the nitty gritty. And he said the jury's given us an extra hour per day. This is not an excuse to waste that hour. So he's tired. He's done with it. And it kind of felt like Butterman was trying to push and trying to get an answer out of Snyder. And Snyder was like, I don't have these answers. This is about NASCAR. This is not about IndyCar. This is not about Formula One. This is about NASCAR. And I'm sorry. And Judge Bell was like, I'm done. I've had it. Let's just move on. And so, unfortunately, it sounds like Butterman did not get the answer that he was looking for.
Yeah, and Buterman again pisses off.
Buterman, my apologies. Buterman, my apologies.
Again pisses off Judge Bell with repeated questions about a potential new stock car series to Snyder. You don't know anything about this series. Judge Bell responds again with asked and answered. Butterman says vast majority of $400 million to the France family goes to taxes. Buterman says based on Mr. Meyer's chart, NASCAR paying $300 million or more will put them in an operating loss. Snyder says the chart doesn't assume any other charges. He adds that the PGA Tour did not have a pile of money lying around to combat Live Golf. Says the PGA executives made adjustments to their business plan. That's what executives do. They make adjustments. Buterman then tries to add team sponsorships to charter payouts to say that teams actually get 48% of total revenue. Snyder says that's an incorrect calculation. The final argument from Buterman to Snyder is, you made a lot of money working on this case. And then I love this note, 9:15 a.m., Snyder is done. Or 9:14 a.m., Snyder is done. So that was about 45 minutes.
Well, let's be honest, Trey. Everyone has made a lot of money on this case. I mean, come on.
Billable hours is if you want to rank winners of this case, as someone who's a college football fan like us, billable hours has been a thing in college athletics, especially for someone in maybe ACC like I am. Yes, he made. I don't get why him saying you made a lot of money on this. Cool, that means he did his job. I think Snyder's best point in here is back to the PGA Live thing. Like, executives make adjustments. Like, that's literally your job. We, even here at frontstretch.com, we had to deal with a changing landscape as a few months ago. And Tom Bowles, who you want to call our Jim France,
whoa!
He's our boss. Hey.
He is way better than Jim France, my man. Come on, give him some respect. Call.
I think Tom Bowles would take the Jim France bank account based off of today. I'm just saying.
I think everyone would. Let's be real though. Come on.
But my point. You didn't even let me finish my point. The owner. He's our mob boss, and we had to deal with financial stuff, and we've had to adjust. You know, it's a reason why we have a donate button on our website if you want to donate for us and help us out. But we've had to adjust our philosophy and how we cover things, where we send people. You know, he's right there. Executives have to make changes. All right. Quickly, I'm going to run through the Anthony Smith, who is a CPA of Clearwater and Charlotte, on Greenwalker, asked questions by Michael Tooney for the plaintiffs.
Which really fast. That's a new attorney. Michael Tooney is a new attorney, so we're bringing more new people in. I just wanted to bring that up
for the plaintiffs. So
yes, that's correct. Yes.
Smith assembled confidential financial information from non-lawsuit teams between 2020 and 2024. Data is anonymized. Anonymized. That's a big word, John Newby. 1 to team 12 organizations in total. Revenue cars, total cost of cars, and profit or loss for each car. Does not include 23 line or front row. Team 1 lost $246 million in sponsorship. Team 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, 11, and 12 were teams who had net losses per car. Team 1 lost money in 2021, 2022, and 2024. Now, we're going to get to testimony later. I think you can put the dots together because when the Hendrick letter came out, it matches a certain number. It said team had lost 20 million in the last 5 years. So maybe you and they said they put $1 billion towards their sponsors. Like, I think Team 1 is Hendrick Motorsports. I'm just gonna
maybe because of this number car.
Well, also the fact that every sponsor is part of the Hendrick Automotive Group as well.
But that what I was saying though is the 5 car has HendrickCars.com on it though. That was the main gist of it. So, a couple things though that I want to point out. Trey, Team 1 lost $246,672,000 in sponsorship. Teams 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, 11, and 12 were teams who had net losses per car. And then Team 1 lost money in 21, 2023, and 2024. With that being said, there's a reason why we keep hearing, whether it's in Xfinity or truck, that these are paid drivers, Trey. Because you have to bring money to the table. And listen, when we were growing up, that you had the likes of I know Michael Finley. You have a love for Paul Menard, but I mean Paul Menard, he brought Menard sponsorship. The greatest Boise, Idaho driver of all time, Brian Scott, he brought sponsorship. There's more and more drivers because of these numbers.
Well, I was going to say you could look at one of the teams that is currently suing NASCAR. It's Riley
exactly.
Herbst. Riley Herbst is a really good example of that. Not to discredit Riley at one bit, but Riley does bring sponsorship and was a big reason why 2311 could get that third charter that it doesn't have right now. But let's move on to the minutia. This is this one was quick. It was 20 minutes long. So he the plaintiffs mainly focused solely on the court order regarding the data shared. NASCAR made arguments that hinged on the accountants not having accurate data for the teams. That this was covered in a hearing where teams discussed these financial figures and how they could submit it. The hearing also covered how teams didn't want to show specific details. The attorney said you don't know if the team form includes 2311 payments to Joe Gibbs Racing or Haas Tools or sponsorship or Haas Factory. The chart timeline was Stewart Haas Racing. It seems pretty accurate based off of what I've seen. This was also court order data, so it seems to be pretty accurate. Here we go. It was a 3-part main event today. It was Steve Phelps and
ding ding ding. Round one
started, and boy oh boy, did it go down. Bryan, you want to go into at least let's through that first point where we finally get to understand the what this new role is for Steve Phelps.
Alrighty, so he was the president of NASCAR for 6 years, and it was announced that his responsibilities expanded in October of 2023. It was also revealed that Steve Phelps gets a $2.5 million salary and a potential $2.5 million bonus. Folks, he could make $5 million a year. Not too shabby.
What do you get for that bonus, I wonder?
Maybe if tracks sell out or something, ratings are good. I don't know. Says the idea of a promotion in 2023 was when his responsibilities expanded would not be good look amid media rights and charter negotiations. It also was revealed that the 4 board members are France, family, or adjacent. There's Jim France, Lisa France, Ben, I would assume Ben Kennedy, and then Mike Helton.
Yeah, I have an important stat about this.
Okay.
Ownership of the France Enterprises, Inc., the family holding company that owns NASCAR, is owned by the France side of the family, 54%, and the Kennedy side of the family, 46%. This was part of, we'll see more later on during the Jim France testimony, but just keep that in mind as we start this part.
So it sounds like there's 7 board members. You got Jim France, Lise France, Ben Kennedy, Mike Helton, Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, and then their lawyer Gary is the other 3. So you got 7 board members there. There was an audited financial statement in which was revealed the total revenue of 2024, $1.7 billion income, over $102 million in 2024, net income of over $536 million in 2023. The difference was the sale of, we'll pour one out for Auto Club Speedway. Steve Phelps said that paid down the ISC debt.
Which, if you don't know, ISC is basically NASCAR bought ISC, which owns tracks like Auto Club, for example, Richmond, Martinsville, Phoenix, Daytona and Talladega. I know Daytona.
Yep.
So that's all with ISC.
Correct. And the stick says Mike Helton's child also married into the France family at one point. That is true. They do also have a kid. They have divorced. I was listening to another podcast, our friends over at the Teardown, and they actually shared that with me. So I did not know that until a couple days ago. With that being said, a couple interesting things. According to a deck from May of 2025 at the board of directors meeting, this deck said the tracks had $468 million in profit. NASCAR had $60 million in profit, but the teams lost $85 million. Trey, how in the world does that make sense? If you have the tracks making $468 million, NASCAR making $60 million, why are the teams losing $85 million?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
It clearly does not add up. Yeah, these numbers were kind of insane. It felt like, I mean, Kessler and Phelps were going at it. Let's admit this. Obviously, we were not in the building, but just based off of what we've seen on Twitter, this seemed to be the defense wanted to end strong, or the plaintiffs wanted to end strong with these 3. I think they were strategically the 3. And it's just it's definitely something to keep in mind here. Bryan, Phelps, you talk about revenue. Phelps says NASCAR had top revenue, but needed to know track purses. Says why they did the 5-year agreement. It's why they did the 5-year agreement with tracks. January 2025 teams.
This is a big one.
January 2025 teams considered a stock car series on dirt. Brett Dwyer spoke to Rob Kaufman and said they were disappointed and was strongly opposed the RTA running a stock car race in 2015. Dwyer said they would fight. The email said the RTA had gone well down the path of developing a car to run on dirt. Kessler said NASCAR threatened the RTA with not getting charters if they did dirt races. Did not show evidence in that part. 2016 email from John Saunders to Phelps and others regarding sanction agreements with Dover when it was independent. Kessler shows an article that saying that NASCAR contracts with tracks include language stifling potential rivals. Shout out to Bobby P. And then on March 14th, 2019, this is a timeline of events. A March 14th, 2019 email from Steve Newmark to Steve Phelps. Reminder, Steve Newmark is the former president at RFK, is now Bill Belichick's boss at North Carolina. Our sport faces material headwinds. Newmark and Roush wanted to create a sustainable model. Teams asked for a better deal, including more money. Phelps said in his opinion, no greater thing would create enterprise value for the teams than a cost cap. He says he wished he had put a cost cap in place. Phelps says that Roger Penske told him he didn't want a cap, but he wanted the Gen 7 car because it would reduce cost, and it did. So sort of let's go to that first part there as we're walking through the testimony. A dirt series, a stock dirt series.
Okay.
Facet. There's like so many little nuggets that
that we're learning.
Whoever's gonna write the book about this court case, like we're gonna forget about.
Fascinating.
And I think depending on the winner of this is the person I would anticipate writes the book about this. If you have a guess in the comments, just drop them. Hint: it will not be Bryan Nolen or Trey Lyle.
God no, hell no. Oh God.
But Bryan, that is fascinating. Basically, it seems to me, and again, NASCAR had to shut down and fight back a dirt series, and now that makes you think. So what was 2020 was the first year of the Bristol Dirt Race, but when did the trucks go to Eldora for the first time? I can look it up.
Stand by. Eldora Dirt Race. I want to say like 2012. Was that? It might be
2013.
2013. Oh, okay, I was close.
That was what, 3 years into that, and then they do a Cup Dirt Race in 2020.
Was it during COVID?
Yeah.
Really?
No,
I thought it was 2021.
20.
Oh,
dude,
Trey.
all these years run together.
COVID was a bad year. Let's be real. But I mean, it was 3 years from the start of Eldora. So I mean, you have to think
2021. You're right.
Okay, so it was 2021. So
that's
3
years,
years, and then
5 years after the attempt.
6 years.
6 years. No, it was 2016. That's 5.
It says they strongly opposed the RTA running a stock car race in 2015.
Yeah, but the Dirt Series was 2016.
Yeah. Okay.
So, it seemed to me that obviously Fox played a big part in pushing dirt, but it seems to me that they are all correlated. Bryan.
Yeah, and I think the Stig says Fox Sports would have jumped all over a summertime dirt stock car series, and I mean. Yes, Stig, I agree, but then again, like NASCAR probably would have thrown a fit, like we just learned that they did with SRX. So I don't know, maybe it would have been on Dirt Vision or Flow or something like that. But
back then I don't think Flow was really what it was. Like if it started now, it makes sense on Flow, but it would have been on like I don't know, it'd been on
MAV TV.
Yeah. When did Speed die?
Speed died in like 2017, 2018, because you had all those new shows like Crowd Goes Wild, in which our leader Tom Bowles was part of that show.
Is that the one with
Regis?
Regis?
Yep, Regis was on it.
November 17th, 2022. Wait. Oh, 2013.
There. Oh, okay.
They had a revival for 3 years on it. So
okay.
2013. So
2013.
So it wouldn't even been on Speed.
Fair. So I mean, I could see it on like MAV TV or something. But
there would have been a platform for it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
And even if it happened now, even bigger, like it would have been on Flow, and it would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. I would have loved it. But it's just like these are the little nuggets that are like, oh, so that actually happened. Interesting. And there's another one with Furniture Row Racing that
we'll get to
in just a little bit. That was also like, oh, okay, that's what happened.
I was going to move on to
yes.
Obviously, it seems to me 2015 is the start of when, a big part of this case has been NASCAR and tracks and the non-competes at tracks that have been placed in, the attorney, the plaintiff's arguing, well, since you have these non-competes, we can't do anything. We can't race at the tracks that we need to race at if we're going to start our own series. And so it was interesting they went the dirt route because that's a venue where, NASCAR doesn't have any. Like, I think Tony Stewart was technically part of the RTA at that time. I'm not going to tell. So I think the only track that NASCAR was using in a dirt track, well, an owner of the sport already had. So it was fascinating to see. And it is funny how some of these reporters are, like Gluck's had a text message on there. Adam Stern had a text message with Denny Hamlin. Bob now has an article. Good news is Bryan and I will not be used as evidence in this case.
Kenny Wallace podcast.
Kenny Wallace podcast did, but that was Kenny Wallace's own podcast, not the one with us.
I'm just saying, you never know. I mean, we had Mark Martin go on crazy, so
That's true. That actually might be the only time we see that,
Yeah.
but I don't think the playoff format's going to be brought up during this case. Then it covers all the NASCAR topics, and it actually is truly a NASCAR case.
Yeah.
But let's go back to this. So obviously, the cost cap and the name they brought up was Roger Penske. It kind of makes sense why Roger Penske did not want a cost cap, and it's also interesting. Rouse and Newmark wanted a more sustainable model because you look at Jack Rouse, his presence in the Cup Series has just dipped. You know, this guy who had 5 cars at one point and was like, what, half the chase?
Yeah, when you had Biffle and Edwards and Kenseth
and McMurray.
Yeah.
But you think about really if he doesn't get Brad,
he could have gone away, dude.
He could have gone away. And so it's interesting to see Steve Newmark and you see Jack Rouse, I was blanking on his name, wanting that, and obviously Roger Penske, and he mentioned how the Gen 7 car reduced costs. Phelps mentioned that. So they went to a break, and then at 10:44 they resumed. Then we start getting to.
Here we go. This is.
Then we're gonna read through this,
folks.
If you want to have some fun, I do not recall, and I really don't remember. Will be if I had to say is the theme of today, it's that.
And I just want to let everyone know, please do not do a drinking game with those two phrases because you may end up in the hospital.
Exactly. So
just saying.
A 2020 meeting discussing what ultimately became SRX. One item says that the team owners couldn't compete in SRX because of charters and provisions. Phelps says SRX concerned him from day one, said it looked like NASCAR. Kessler shows text from Phelps saying SRX could turn into Live if they didn't play their cards right. Phelps clarifies that FU to us referenced team owners competing in SRX. February 2023, text about Hamlin racing in NASCAR. O'Donnell's text about legal looking at SRX. Phelps responded with, these guys are just plain stupid. Need to put a knife in his trash series. Phelps says lawyers looked at SRX and determined that the series was not crossing the line. He said the colors, libraries, and sponsors of SRX looked like NASCAR. Kessler said North Wilkesboro, Kessler kept saying Wilkes-Barre multiple times. I guess it's his New York accent. The trips up Phelps, who also calls it North Wilkes-Barre, which is kind of funny. Phelps looked at the possibility of permanent charters. Told Rick Hendrick, we wish we could give you a permanent charter, but Mr. France does not want that.
Trey, say that again, please.
But Mr. France does not want that, which we'll get to Mr. France's testimony.
Ooh.
Kessler as Phelps about O'Donnell, and Prime calling France a brick wall about a permanent charter. Asked Phelps about the message calling a meeting with Lisa as initially instead of productive of
insanity.
Lisa as insanity instead of productive. Says that with just frustration in the moment in time as lead negotiation says he wasn't happy, or lead negotiator says he wasn't happy with the progress or the team's progress. Bryan, I don't know about you, and maybe because I was an executive and I feel the same way about, I kind of get Live as if you squinted your eyes and saw PGA Tour golf, because they still have some familiar faces, but they do less holes until this season. To me, SRX goal from the start, they never said we're competing against NASCAR. Live, if you want to make the real comparison, Live came out and said we're competing against the PGA Tour. When Ray Everham did the Dale Jr. download to talk about this, he was like, it never happened. And who would they have in the booth for most races? It would be Alan Bestwick and a NASCAR Cup Series driver.
Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski.
And they'd be talking about, part of the time, they're talking about the race they're having in the upcoming weekend. Granted, the jury doesn't know this, and so maybe this is us putting we know this, we know the minutia better than the jury, but to try to kill competition is an anti-competitive act, especially when your own participants it's not like Jim France was racing in it and you stopped Jim France from doing it, which or I don't know if that's the best example, but I'm just using a NASCAR person here. It was legitimately, whether it was owners or drivers / owners, and Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski, but they had 3 owners racing SRX.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski, Justin Marks, and Denny Hamlin. And Kyle also, it was, why he's also viewed as not NASCAR? Because when the NASCAR drivers got in the car, they kicked everyone's ass.
Pretty much.
Kyle Busch was undefeated. Denny won his 1 race. Chase won his 1 race. I think Blaney did not win his 1 race, but that was also a dirt race.
Didn't he finish second to his dad or something?
Yeah, something like that. So my point being, and that's why Blaney's in it. It was literally just because his dad was racing in it, and it was their family. So, and that's with the NASCAR glasses. Yeah. This seemed, even if the jury did not know anything about SRX, it seemed, especially with the attitude of him taking the, this was all questions we were talking about, like with the, I don't know, I don't recall, I really don't remember. This was just really, it seemed to me very bad.
Yeah, it feels like if they didn't want to answer the question and they don't want to perjure themselves, they just say, I don't remember, or I really don't recall. And that's not a good strategy at all. I don't know why their lawyers would say that. I mean, it's just that it makes them look so much worse, and it's going to get a lot worse come later on when we talk about Jim France. But it still is mind-boggling to me about how they thought SRX could turn into Live Golf. I mean, Greg Norman came out when he was the founder of Live with the Saudis, and it's like, yeah, we want to rival, we want to beat the PGA Tour. They didn't have a dress code; they could wear shorts. There was music blaring. There was only 54 holes, and then they really didn't make it. Obviously, sure, but like the only time I remember Live Golf was like at like midnight on like FS1 or something. And
it's on the CW.
Okay, so that works.
It started on the CW.
Okay.
Ironically, now it's on FS1.
Okay.
So it's also with all the NASCAR partners.
Yeah, crazy how that works, right? With that being said, it also feels like everybody is going and they're just trying to just pound Jim France, saying this is all Jim France's fault. We thought permanent charges were going to be okay, but Jim France said no. It was all Jim France. It was Jim France said no.
Why did Jim France go last?
There you go.
The defense, it is a lot easier to portray one person abusing power than an entire entity abusing power.
Mm-hmm.
And if they view this guy as Jim France abusing his power and making, again, Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell. Because I actually believe, the weird part is I hate doing this. Because,
you do? Why? I love it.
No, I love talking about this. I'm getting to my point. I feel like I'm putting down Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell a little bit because of their testimony. But I do think those two as executives, and even Ben Kennedy to some degree, has done so much good for NASCAR since they came into power. Since this, they were clearly, they're willing to innovate. They're willing to do things you could tell, Steve Phelps, this guy, despite the fact he was getting sued, was at the track every week talking to everyone. He would talk to Dane. He would not avoid them. And I think they're good. I think they're good for the sport. But again, they are performing the job, they're doing their job. And could their job be wrong? And that makes them at fault. It's a hard balance. But we got to continue because we have a lot. We haven't gotten to a lot. We are 40 minutes in, and one more thing, Rima -09. Richard Childress did testify today. We're getting that. I got
yes,
you.
we will be getting there.
Paul,
we cannot say that last. We cannot say that last comment that you said. But that did make me laugh. So thank you for making me chuckle.
Paul, I'm trying to stay a little positive, man. This has been. Brian's only had to do one of these. You'd be negative for 7 times. I'm just saying. God, man. Oh.
Trey, where do we go from here?
Anyway, the next part of Phelps' testimony, he says that $720 million requested from the teams, $20 million per car, would have bankrupt NASCAR, saying it would have ceased to exist. Phelps says it's incorrect characterization to say teams did not get any of the 4 pillars, which, reminder, the 4 pillars of this case are kind of the key asking points, which was permanent charters, more money, a seat at the table, and what was the 4th one? A seat at the table in terms of rules, the 3-strike rule. And what was the last one? Oh, I'm blanking on it right now.
The revenue to the teams.
More money, permanent charters. I can look at my old notes.
While he's looking there, that the Kessler finished it up, so NASCAR decided to cross-examine him. Now, it was Yates that did the Phelps examination, the original attorney that started everything. Obviously, there's a plenty of other ones, but he was the examination for Steve Phelps. Phelps says that NASCAR still owns 90 acres of Auto Club Speedway, and yet they're still saying it, folks. They hope to build a short track on this property. Now, it's been, 4 years since we've heard that? 5 years or something? NASCAR does own Atlanta, St. Petersburg, and then Route 66 Dragway. I did not know they owned St. Petersburg. So according to John Newby's note, that is interesting. Before this, Steve Phelps worked for the NFL for 14 years, corporate sponsorship. He was the head of sales for Wasserman as well. He said that during COVID, it was the biggest collaborative effort from stakeholders that he can remember. He had to call 18 or 19 governors to get permission to race. He also brings up the lease of Amazon wanting to get involved after seeing Chicago. Unlike O'Donnell, he remembered to include Warner Brothers, that being TNT. According to Phelps, one presentation called NASCAR a 3-leg
share. Okay, you're right. It was the share of new revenue streams is the one I'm missing. So it was the share of new revenue streams, obviously more money, the governance, part of governance, a seat at the table, the 3-strike rule, and then permanent charge was the 3 things. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian.
No, you're good. You're good. Steve Phelps calls a charter system a huge step forward for the sport. Steve Phelps tries to direct quote conversation with Roger Penske and Joe Gibbs. However, Judge Bell shuts him down and says, just to say how he reacted, says he tried to save money. Trey, listen to this. Steve Phelps says that he believes the Gen 7 car is the safest in all of motorsports. Kurt Busch had to retire because of this car.
Yeah, now, is it safer than cars in the past? Yes. They have had, knock on wood, no fatalities since 2001. But initially, it was, 3 concussions? Like, it was Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman.
What was the other one? I was driving home from work thinking about this.
It wasn't Noah.
It wasn't Noah.
Noah got into the car of the 42. It was when
Eric Jones?
It might have Eric Jones was the back.
Comments in the comments. Tell us who.
But the best example is Kurt Busch.
Yeah.
Who was driving for 2311. Who his career ended because of the that.
I know.
I don't know if it's hard to say it was the safest car in the history of motorsports. Now, is it safer than a lot of cars out there right now in motorsports? I'd lean yes. But I think that was a poor choice of words because of the team, of the team they're facing is a big part of it. He mentions how he keeps going on about the next gen car, or the Gen 7 car, whatever you want to call it. The 7 car has produced great green flag racing, most green flag passes. Again, kind of ironic considering the guy who likes to question that every week is Denny Hamlin. Gen 7 has lowered the cost for teams. Phelps says that 2311 and Trackhouse Racing both got in NASCAR for the Gen 7 car. Phelps says our cost cap is an unbelievable opportunity to increase enterprise value for teams. Phelps says
this is a one. This is a one.
So Phelps says his understanding was that Furniture Row was spending upwards of $45 million on their car and driver, which was Martin Truex Jr. And Eric Jones, because it was still a two-car team at the time.
It was, yeah.
Or no, did Jones make the switch to the 20? No, I think it was.
No, it was on the 70. Year. It was like in the 77.
It was with 77, right?
Yeah.
And then because both Truex and him went the final year because Kenseth lost the ride.
Yep.
So, anyways,
and the technical alliance went from 3 million to 10 million. That is why Furniture Row Racing went out of business because they could not increase the technical alliance.
Now we don't know if that's true.
He says that was his understanding.
Yeah. Which, if that is true, then that's insane by Joe Gibbs. That's pretty damning. But also, it also was indicative of why, I guess he presented it because it was the indicative of why they brought up this car. Because theoretically, they could argue, well, 2311 is paying, what, $2.5 million per car or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
That was the number. Brought up BJ McLeod, bought a Charger in 2020 for $3 million, sold it for $40 million in 2023, which, depending on this outcome of this case, again, we have a couple big winners in this case. Couple big winners in this case. If the charter system goes away, I want to put on note that BJ McLeod is like the top winner in this case because he made $37 million.
BJ McLeod is rolling in the money. Dollar bills.
So Phelps says Sam Flood called O'Donnell after Elliott won SRX at Nashville in the Napa car. This was Sam Flood from NBC. Sam Flood was not happy about potential fan confusion. Phelps says Jim France and Lisa France Kennedy gave him the direction to get charters extended for 2025. Phelps says that the single most important thing to teams was to increase revenue. Denny Hamlin shook his head at this comment, became increasingly frustrated. Phelps says, when asked about Curtis Polk, says teams never wavered on the 4 pillars, no middle ground.
It seems like, Trey, that they're trying to paint Curtis Polk in a bad light. They're saying this was all Curtis's fault. Well, on the flip side, Phelps and O'Donnell are saying, oh, this is Jim France's fault. It feels like there's two main people that they're trying to put the blame on.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to put it on Curtis Polk. That's why they sued Curtis Polk.
Yeah.
People forget this was dismissed. There's one villain on one there. I don't want to use the word villain. There's one key figure on one side and there's one key figure on the other side. And you also know why they're the ones that are chosen. They're the two people that are not out front.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Polk, I have no idea what that guy looks like.
I think he's a little bigger. If he's not, I highly apologize.
Still, if Curtis Polk walked down the street, you would not know who he was.
No.
Same goes for Jim France. For the most part.
I mean,
maybe we're in NASCAR.
Me and you would know the random. Let's say, shout out to my wife. If Izzy or your girlfriend Storm walked past Jim France, would they know?
No, I would put it this way: if we were at a race and Jim France walked past us, you would have to look at me and be like, "Look, that was Jim France." Maybe if I looked at it and could tell. Yeah. I know what Steve O'Donnell looks like, and I know what Steve Phelps are because they're the two voices for NASCAR in terms of the leadership team. And Denny Hamlin is one of the most key drivers in the sport. And then, who's left? Michael Jeffrey Jordan, maybe the most iconic athlete in the history of sports.
Yeah, fair enough.
So again, one side is trying to paint one guy as a bad guy, like Curtis Polk. He didn't care about negotiating. He just wanted to get to this point. And the other guy is, well, Jim France didn't want to wants to just treat this like it's old school and is anti-competitive. And that is probably the core of this case. Going on with the Phelps testimony, we do need to move on. So I'm just going to read the couple notes and then we'll move on, Brian. He says the media rights negotiations lasted just under 11 months. He hoped it would have been 6 months. Yates asked Steve Phelps about the media rights agreement. Did they set a deadline? Yates being the lawyer, by the way, for for NASCAR. Did they set a deadline? Phelps said yes. Phelps called this new 7-year option for the 2025 agreement bridge between NASCAR side, 7 years with a hard stop, and the teams, which were permanent, which, again, part of this is a 7-year extension. So you get to the 7-year marks, they can extend this agreement for 7 more years to line up with the TV deal. Phelps, $33 million in new money for the teams, some from here or there, not exactly sure. The rest from tracks in NASCAR. And now we get to the fun part. It's not much.
Buckle up.
Good old RC.
Oh, good old RC. Richard Childress.
Richard Childress told the jury how his race team would go broke if it wasn't for his other successful businesses making him enough to pay for his NASCAR losses. The 6-time championship owner, who obviously used to own Dale Earnhardt, also pleaded with France with permanent charters, which he was not the only one. It appeared that heartfelt letters from Rick Hendrick, which we'll get to with the France testimony. Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, Joe Gibbs, Jack Rouse, all similar ages to one Jim France, but wanted a permanent charter, which makes sense. It is ironic how also a note about his testimony, before it even began, he got pissed off because financial questions were starting to be asked. Or I think this was for the NASCAR side, excuse me. So let me make sure. Anyways, let's continue. Childress testified he asked France several times in person about the charters becoming permanent or auto-renewing, but France told him, we don't know where the sport is going to be in 7 years regarding the media rights revenue. Childress says he was pressured into signing the charters on September 6th. Same way Heather Gibbs kind of said it, though he didn't want to because the alternative was going out of business. They told us we had until midnight or you lose them, Childress said. Financially, I can't lose my charters. That's a key word there. Key phrasing. The charter system is positive for teams, Childress indicated, but the agreement itself is what is bad in his view. In total, 13 teams signed it, obviously 23-11 front rower. That, in terms of maintaining the same message throughout, this is now the second non-team's owner saying the same sort of phrasing as what Heather Gibbs said.
Childress said, I would love to see RCR running 60 years from now, but with this model, I can't do it. Now, there was something that potentially could be going on into another legal battle, Trey. I'm putting up the tweet right here. According to Adam Stern, of Sports Business Journal, the team lawyer said they were miffed by NASCAR's lawyer having a document about Richard Childress possibly selling part of RCR and said it may have been improperly shared due to it being under an NDA, aka a non-disclosure agreement, and asked NASCAR to identify the source who gave it to them. So that is a little interesting nugget because apparently RC was having some discussions, some talks, and when NASCAR was questioning him, RC was made to admit that RCR had been in talks to sell an equity stake of the team, including part of his 60% stake. The prospective buyer of the equity stake in RCR had been a group that includes former driver Bobby Hillin Jr. Obviously, those talks broke down, but there could be more legal drama appearing because this was under an NDA, and you don't break NDAs, Trey.
Yeah, you have. I mean, I think you can in certain instances in this court, but
if they approved it, they did not approve this though.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm again. So yeah, the Childress stuff for two different reasons was pretty damning. The ownership side, which was the 60, he would have sold 60% of the ownership group. That is pretty insane. Again, another nugget we're probably going to forget about that we're going to learn more about as time goes on. I would have loved to have seen his answer because it said he got animated talking about it. So obviously the text messages that came out from Steve Phelps were unearthed during the discovery process. In the message, Phelps told another high-level executive Childress should be taken back and flogged, called him a stupid redneck who owns his entire fortune in NASCAR. These remarks stemmed from critical comments Childress made about the cost associated with NASCAR mandated next-gen car during a radio interview. After Phelps' text became public, RC said it was considering legal action. Phelps' remarks could not be entered into evidence. However, the presiding judge, Kenneth Bell, ruled there. But so you have the part where the team's effed up in terms of the NDA, but also, again, typically when you have a case of trying who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie, when time in and time out, people keep telling the same story over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it's a different person, it's the truth. And clearly, even if you want to say this one moment, the teams thing, the tracks thing is just NASCAR trying to be savvy, this little moment on the charter deal was clearly NASCAR using its force on the teams. Now, will the jury see it that way? And is the jury going to see that way? Is ultimately going to be the question.
Already, Trey. This is where I think.
All right. Let me double check. Do we have questions so far? So yeah, the text actually didn't get used in court, Rima.
They were not permissible. They were not allowed as evidence. So
Stig bringing up a point about RCR had to get a PPI loan during COVID. So Rima, Curtis Polk is the other owner of 2311 Racing. He was Michael Jordan's agent. I mean, he's been Michael Jordan's longtime business partner. So everything that Michael Jordan's done from a business side, Curtis Polk has been a part of, essentially. Outside of maybe his first sneaker deal, which his mom negotiated for him.
Shout out mom.
So, but let's get to it. Jim France testified, Brian.
Oh, this was not a good day for NASCAR. At 3:51 p.m., the day for NASCAR went south, Trey. Jeffrey Kessler did not say, was not friendly. He just went into straight examination, asked a question about permanent charters. Jim France said no to all permanent charters, but he did not like the phrasing. He said, no, we do not know where NASCAR will be. He says no to evergreen charters. And I think when everybody is like, okay, let's see what he has to say. He just
Which is not shocking. No, I don't know if I'd be shocked by that.
He just flat out admitted it. It was also revealed, Jim, like you said earlier, Jim France's side of the family trust owns 54% of NASCAR. Lisa France Kennedy's side of the family trust owns 45.3%, with 50% voting power for both sides. Apparently, if you are the CEO of NASCAR, you don't have to know about tax strategies. He says he's not knowledgeable about these tax strategies. Says that is up for the financial folks to handle.
Which honestly is probably not a good answer after what Steve Phelps says. You get $400 million. The France family gives $400 million to taxes. I would admit that on a day-to-day basis, you probably do not know how much taxes you pay. You have a tax person, but if you know you're going into a trial like this, you got to have all your numbers P and Q'd. And so that to me just seems fishy, Brian. That's all I got to say.
I think everyone would love this. He says since becoming NASCAR CEO, he's only flown on NASCAR planes.
Yeah,
that
was a question. That was a question that was brought up earlier about that, his travel. Why does he not go to races and stuff like that? He mentions how Ben and Lisa both use the planes as well. Jim France does not know Lisa's employee title at NASCAR or her salary. Jim says he doesn't recall any time the board has overruled him. But he says that they have the power to do so.
So then how would he... You would think if he doesn't recall anyone that
Well,
has ever...
even if you turn this into... The board was made up to be, you mentioned it earlier, is just the France family. It's not like, right? It's just the France family. It's just this one family is the board. It's not like Steve Phelps or Steve O'Donnell are on the board. Or, so, Jim France says he does... Oh, I just said that. Term B loan, the original loan for ISC was fully paid off on May 31st, 2024. France says new debt was incurred. Kessler asked about Fontana. France says part of his $400 million went to term loan B. Asked about the 2022 board meeting. Francie does not recall specific board meetings. The minute sheet from those meetings might refresh his memory. Voting trustee Jennifer Bates, which is his daughter. Ben Kennedy, which is Lisa's son. France Enterprises board, these family members, plus lawyer Gary. This board sits above the NASCAR board of directors. Jim took over for his brother, for his nephew, Bryan France, in 2019. 2021 to 2024, distribution to the France Family Trust is approximately $400 million. France doesn't know the exact number. Acknowledge it's the hundreds of millions of dollars. France earns a salary of $3.5 million as CEO of NASCAR. France does not recall if he attended a meeting with Goldman Sachs. He does not know this revenue for this year. So the meeting, by the way, the meeting for Goldman Sachs was about the sale of NASCAR.
Oh God!
I'm sorry, I'm calling fishy on that. Like you don't recall a meeting when you're trying to sell like the one thing your family has had your whole life.
But like, why do you say you don't recall that? Like everyone could like call your bluff on that. I don't know if his lawyers told him to do that, but even if they did, like, why would they tell him that? It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I truly don't get it. Tom here with a question. I have a question. Is they brought up NASCAR pays themselves at the racetrack $331 million. How much do you think it costs to maintain those tracks? How much do you think they pay in property taxes? How much do you think they pay in insurance? Yes, some of them get to go twice for some of them. No one other venues to bring in money, return on the investment. It's a private entity. What's your opinion? It is a private entity, and I'm Tom. We can't give you the answers to the question about the exact numbers.
It's a great, fantastic question.
It was a great question. My guess is that, for example, all the teams' numbers came out like during the plaintiff side. When NASCAR comes out, NASCAR explaining like where they don't make a profit in terms of the tracks, it will come out when NASCAR brings up witnesses, like maybe their own economists. It's a very complicated question about your last part. It is, yes. So that, the teams do own the tracks, and it's kind of like a double up of money. It seems to me, and Adam Stern's already reporting that like multiple people are interested in buying certain things depending on how this case goes. I think one of the obvious things, it seems to me, is divesting from ISC, NASCAR, and that will change. Now, could they find a loophole where like Ben Kennedy buys it and Ben Kennedy just runs that? I don't know. But essentially put, which is like, go look, if you want to see something crazy, go look who the CEO of Echo Park is. And in fact, they just bought a sponsorship at Atlanta Motor Speedway. They're related. Let's put it that way. You didn't know that?
I did not.
It's Marcus Smith's brother. Okay.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Just saying.
Interesting.
And that's a lesser scale. That's sponsorship. That's not like anti-competitive. I'm just pointing out this stuff happens.
And they just... Okay, interesting.
I mean, we saw it with Bob Jenkins. Bob Jenkins putting his son's Long John Silver's on the car for free. Like it happens. But so I guess in terms of the last part, I guess the like that's the one thing. Like, you're right about the double up, it seems to me, but we'll get into that. So and the Stig bringing up a good point. I only find fly private is a hard thing to say in front of a jury of any kind.
Not wrong. You're not wrong, Stig.
And Tom, we appreciate you, my man. Thanks so
Probably
much
the best
for your
question.
great question.
No
That was a really good question.
No
Hopefully,
offense, Stig or Paul or anybody, but that was a damn.
I don't know
good
if we.
question.
I don't know. I don't know if we are smart enough to answer it, but we did our best.
Definitely not, but that's okay.
So, as he goes on, he does not know if Steve Phelps will get a bonus this year. NASCAR's e-beta profits before taxes, etc., dipped in 2020, COVID, but has gone up every year since. Revenue growth was 125% since 2019. Influx track strategies is to support shareholder objective. Share objective is to deliver returns through transparent and reliable operating model. Ultimately put, looking at the Jim France testimony, I think a big part was we will do not do evergreen or permanent charters. No, like that was the the brick wall he's been described.
And it was right at the start too. Like it was not just like middle. It was bam right at the start.
So obviously, again, France has been built. He's named in the lawsuit. He's built as the case, as the witness after witness, as he is the ultimate decision maker. Pleading to find a middle, despite executives pleading to find a middle ground with teams. Though Frames claimed he was just involved in the discussion and said NASCAR's board has the ability to override him, he was unable to name one instance when that happened, as Bryan mentioned. And to be sure, the prevailing perception among teams and NASCAR employees is that France is the person in charge. France acknowledged he was the person who wanted a September 6, 2024 deadline for the teams to sign the charter agreements or lose them. If we didn't have the charters signed, we wouldn't have the charters, he said. I knew we needed to get them signed. He said that. Again, pretty damning.
Oh, boy.
But France said he remembered a little ease from the points Kessler raised with him. He did not recall specific meetings, including meetings in which he acknowledged being an active participant. In several instances, he denied making certain statements to which the jury has already heard testimony and said he could not remember others, though he did not have a reason to doubt the accuracy of the testimony he said. For example, Joe Gibbs Racing co-owner Heather Gibbs testified Friday that France was cold when speaking to Joe Gibbs in a last-minute call before the charter deadline. She said Gibbs begged France, do not do this to us. France responded, if I wake up, I have only 20 charters, I have 20. But France said he did not remember Gibbs saying that and claimed he didn't think he would have made a comment like that to Gibbs' response. He also said there was nothing upsetting about the heartfelt letter Heather Gibbs sent to NASCAR, which NASCAR President C. O'Donnell sent in a message to fellow lead executives, drew an angry verbal reaction as France read it aloud. O'Donnell did walk back the testimony this week, saying he was exaggerating. Kessler went paragraph by paragraph of the letter, and France said none of it made him angry and said he did not recall reading a letter out loud. A lot of I don't knows. I don't know. I do not recall. He said he did not remember a 2021 strategy kickoff meeting for the charter negotiation meetings, which O'Donnell wrote in an email to other executives. Jim, overarching comment, we are in competition. We are going to win. France was also unable to recall. Again, this is not a denial. This is unable to recall. He knew about NASCAR's $5 billion valuation from Goldman Sachs, had no memory discussing NASCAR executive agreements with racetracks, and said he did not know about NASCAR's revenue for his own exact salary as CEO. The salary, he said, was $3.5 million per year range, on top of hundreds of millions of dollars to his France family trust has received the last 4 years. France family, so and obviously it ultimately ends later tomorrow. Bryan, we have gone pretty long. Paul with a question here. He asked, does Jim France ever remember doing anything? I don't know.
Both Michael Finley and Paul, both of them were really funny. That was both of you guys, kudos.
Scott Prime and Jim France are two people who don't speak a lot. And Jim France with a lot of and Jeff Gluck put it out on Twitter and I retweeted. He said this was the most damning for NASCAR in his own opinion. And so
yeah, it was a bad day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was a very bad day.
Yeah.
I don't know what the conversation between NASCAR's lawyers and Jim France is going to be today, but something's got to change if they want to have any shot at winning this case, in my opinion, because...
Another damning part of this of a letter, which was from Rick Hendrick. I'd also like to take the opportunity to share some facts. Over the past 5 years, Hendrick Motorsports has won 2 Cup Series NASCAR Cup Series championships and lost $20 million. I'd be happy to show you audited financial statements. I love this sport and my passion for it keeps me engaged, but there's a clear business reality. Before we can possibly reach an agreement, NASCAR must acknowledge the current model is unsustainable for the teams and cannot continue without a substantive fundamental change. And to me, the argument that you look at Roger Penske, Rick Hendrick, Jack Roush, and Joe Gibbs, what do they have in common with Jim France? They are the same age as him, and they've known him for a very long time and have been in the sport for a very long time. And you could throw RC in that too. And, the teams NASCAR could argue these are just, Bob Jenkins has been in it long enough, but mainly, looking at 2311, MJ's just this upstart that was in the NBA that doesn't know anything about this sport itself. He doesn't get it, and that's why he's suing. You should throw this out. But it's pretty damning, and it makes you look suspicious on the stand when you just say, I don't know. Yeah. I don't recall. I can't remember. Because trust me, as someone who's been in trouble before.
Oh, you have.
When I was a kid.
That's okay. I got in like 2 car wrecks in like 3 months and had to go to court for them when I was 18. So I've been in your shoes. I have not gotten a car wreck since then. Knock on wood.
I'm not talking about legal trouble. I'm talking about in trouble with my parents.
Oh well, I've gotten
saying I don't know does not help your case.
Yeah.
So, Bryan, any final thoughts on the day?
The Stig says, my opinion at this point is as long as Polk does not completely screw this up, the team should have this in the bag. I agree with him. This was a bad.
I was going to pull up the Gluck tweet.
This was
just wrapped up 45 minutes of testimony from, nope, it's the wrong one. He said...
While you are looking at that, this was a bad day for NASCAR, and if they want to have any shot at getting any sort of momentum and potentially stealing this case, quote unquote, they got to get something.
When you have an executive, a rich guy, talking about he's flying private planes, and that's all he flies, and the other rich guy on the other side is Michael Jordan, who's very relatable, that's the 2 rich guys at this, all right? Common people don't like rich people.
Yep.
And one rich guy is being super charming and making a joke about how the lawyer's not wearing Jordans today and how he the guy was a Knicks fan and he broke the hearts of the Knicks all the time. That was MJ's testimony, saying I fly on a private plane and then I don't recall, I don't know, I don't recall me saying I don't care to a Joe Gibbs who is hasn't eaten all day and his blood pressure monitor is going off, or the Heather.
Yeah, that was so sad.
So Jeff Gluck, by the way, who was in the courtroom, court is done for the day, and I don't think I'm underselling it to say Jim France's testimony was shockingly bad so far, just not good at all for NASCAR, in my opinion. So, we're day 7 of this. It will be interesting to see as we head to day 8. When it switches sides. Could a settlement come? I don't think so, because I think it's not, because do we look back on, I think the two of the biggest moments in NASCAR history, and we'll wrap up with this, was that September date where they said Jim France said take it or leave it, the gun to the head Scott Prime used, and the day the settlement fell through because, again, based on reporting, Jim France on the NASCAR side was not willing to pay the legal fees. Bryan, a lot to talk about. Well, tomorrow we'll be back. It'll be me and someone. I don't know who.
Could be me. Could be Michael. Could be Dalton. Could be Tom. We never know.
Yeah. So we'll find that out. But at the Bryan Nolen, at Trey Lyle VT, signing off for now for this episode of Bringing the Heat, day number 7. Can't believe we're at 7 of this. But this was a great episode of Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle. Bye, everybody.
See ya.